Welcome back to another episode of the Less is More Sports Podcast, the college offseason podcast, where you could say we're less of the regular season, but more of the offseason. It's been a couple weeks since Matt and I have been on the show, so a lot has been going on. So, what Matt and I are going to do today is that we are going to give our top 5 events that have taken place since we've been gone. And per usual, since I dominate the intro, Matt, you're going first. Take it away. What is your number 5 event that has gone on since our last show?
You see, what Les didn't realize is he wasn't specific enough when we decided we were going to do this. So everything is going to come completely out of left field, but I think everyone else is going to love it. But before we get to number 5, we're going to start with number 6, which was me turning on the Frisco Bowl to watch UTSA play Marshall and figuring out that it was actually Cole Pennington for Marshall playing Owen McCown of UTSA and not Frank Harris in the Frisco
Little
Bowl.
little nostalgia there.
A little nostalgia less. I think I aged about 40 years when they announced that. Because it's like, oh, these are the sons of Josh McCown and Chad Pennington. It's like, I remember Chad Pennington running the Wildcat with Ronnie Brown, wearing my first like Reebok purchased NFL jersey. So that's my number 6 is me feeling incredibly old watching the Frisco Bowl, realizing that these two guys were the sons of quarterbacks who I could basically remember their entire NFL careers and feeling
Before you
terrible.
continue, I want to say you should feel old for just admitting that you wore a Reebok NFL jersey.
Dude, I still have those. I'm never getting rid of those. I've got a LaDainian Tomlinson. I've got a Marvin
Ooh,
Harrison, and it's a powder blue LaDainian Tomlinson. We're talking about like the
ooh, that's
fancy
clean.
stuff.
That's clean.
I've got one of those. I have a Seattle. I don't know who my Seattle one is. It may be Sean Alexander.
I really hope it's Sean Alexander. That'd be so cool.
But yeah, I've got about four old Reebok jerseys, two Colts, two other players who I thought were cool. So I mean, I do remember the days where you could walk into the Reebok store and get like a jersey for like $20 because inflation wasn't a thing yet. So that's my number 6 is me feeling incredibly old. And now for my number 5. Les is probably going to talk about the game a little bit more in depth, but I did watch the Holiday Bowl at Petco Park. And if we were doing a worst of what since we've been gone, number 1 on that list would be football games held in baseball stadiums because
I
I
like
hate
that.
that. I hate everything about this. But I did enjoy watching the Holiday Bowl. I mean, Louisville's defense got shredded, and at the end of the game, Lincoln Riley was doused in eggnog. And I absolutely love that because I've never had eggnog. But I've
You
always
gotta have
wondered
it.
what
You
I
gotta
have
have
to
it.
well, do I have to have it or do I have to have it with something less?
Just by itself. I mean, I've been sober for almost 2 years and I enjoy eggnog all the same.
Everybody tells me that I have to put something in it, and I'm like, you know what? I don't know. But
Try it
I
by
love
itself
the
first, then add something to it if you want.
I'm gonna get a Kool-Aid packet and put it in the eggnog.
Okay, that's disgusting. Okay. You are no longer
I
my co-host anymore. That is
I have
disgusting.
just I have Will Levis to myself out of the show. I will Levis myself out of but no, I thought it was a great moment, it's a bowl between 2 teams who were disappointed in where they ended up at the end of the year. USC had a disappointing season. Louisville exceeded expectations until the last few games when they hit a skid. It's at Petco Park. It's called the Holiday Bowl, so you might as well dunk like eggnog all over the winning coach. I just thought
Right.
that was absolutely hilarious. So that's my number 5 is Lincoln Riley getting doused in eggnog after winning the Holiday Bowl.
My number 5 is a lot more predictable than what Matt's was because that is actually awesome. Just seeing Lincoln Riley getting doused in eggnog. And Matt is correct. I will talk about the Holiday Bowl here in a little bit, but maybe not the way you were thinking. But my number 5, and you all probably could have guessed it, it's the off seasons that Duke and Texas, my two teams, have had up to this point. Texas currently has the number 3 recruiting class. They've landed several big flips in the recruiting cycle. They landed Andrew Makuba, Matthew Golden, Trey Moore from the transfer portal. And I think people are really starting to notice what I've been saying for the last 3 years, where the Sarkisian era is headed. Sorry, not handled, headed, my bad. And as for Duke, look, Manny Diaz is not playing around, dude. 16 players signed on National Signing Day. And remember, we still have one more National Signing Day in a couple months. Key playmakers from last year's team, Chandler Rivers and Jacquez Moore, are coming back. Malik Murphy transfers to Duke, which, honest question, when was the last time Duke had a quarterback commit that was recruited by a historically great program? I can't think of one. They went out and hired former SMU co-offensive coordinator slash quarterback coach Jonathan Brewer as their offensive coordinator. And then for their defensive coordinator, they were able to go out and get Jonathan Padkey from Texas State. I mean, I wish we could have kept Trooper Taylor on staff, but, beggars can't be choosers. But either way, dude, my teams are making some noise.
Is that it?
That's all I got, yeah.
I didn't know if you had anything else to add
You
there
look
because
so disappointed.
I was waiting for like the big boom take of like, and Ashton Genty is getting on the jet right now,
To
going to
Notre Dame.
Here
I've been saying
comes.
Jenny to Notre Dame. So
You can have Keyshawn Judkins. You can take him instead. Get John
I,
Judkins.
I feel like I know where he's going, and I might after we get through our five, I think I'll tell you where he's going.
He's obviously going to go to Maine with Cooper Flag.
Clearly, I mean, everyone wants to be a black bear nowadays.
Everyone's decommitting from their schools and going up to Maine, baby.
Grizzly bears and polar bears are so outdated. Everyone wants to be a black bear nowadays.
Oh my gosh. One of the apex predators of North America.
That no one talks about. That's right up your alley, Matt.
It is. It is.
You talk about the sleepers.
I do. And speaking of sleepers, here's my number 4, which was a sneaky good bowl game that had just about everything your heart could desire in it, and that would be the entirety of every aspect of the 2023 famous Toastery Bowl, which was absolutely great. First off, you've got Western Kentucky trailing 35-14 entering the fourth quarter. They've already put in this kid named Caden Veltkamp, who's not played the entire year, who is trying with all his might to lead a furious comeback. And sure enough, with 19 seconds to go in the game, Western Kentucky ties it up at 35, which is just absolutely incredible. Then we get an overtime period that's taken off the network because Monday Night Football is on, and they have to show the pregame to a game where teams come back down from 35-14 in the span of a quarter with a quarterback who's barely played all year. But we've got to make sure we get all those headshots of Marcus Spears in. So
it's all about product placement. It's all about money.
I love Swagoo with all of my heart, but that frustrated me to no end. And Western Kentucky, on their first possession, makes a field goal and stops Old Dominion to win. Comeback. It's an epic comeback from 35-14 down. And everything about this game, even beyond that, was perfect because the famous Toastery Bowl mascot, is just a dude dressed like a piece of bread. And it's absolutely incredible. And then Western Kentucky's coach, Tyson Helton, he gets doused in toast. Like, imagine, there's something comforting about, I hope it wasn't buttered because that would probably make it soggy. But there's something comforting about like 100 warm pieces of toast cascading over your body after you've won a game with a backup quarterback and come down from 35-14. That's probably an indescribable feeling.
Rumor has it that wasn't the only bread on display after that game, but that's neither here nor there.
Oh my god.
No, I know. Matt's like smacking his head at me. I disappoint Matt at least once a show. If I don't, like,
What?
if I was I was gonna say, if I was a betting man, I would set the over under to like me disappointing Matt like at least once a show.
I think you'd have to probably set it at least 1.5.
One and a half, I think that's fair.
I feel like that's accurate. But yeah, the 2023 famous Toastery Bowl was one of my favorite like football games I've actually watched, pro or otherwise, this year, because there were just so many storylines and it just kept getting crazier each time I watched it. So my number 4, the entirety of the 2023 famous Toastery Bowl.
And as Matt alluded to, that I am going to talk about the Holiday Bowl more in depth. And my number 4 is the USC quarterback situation. Obviously, as we all know, Caleb Williams, the former Heisman Trophy winner, is gone. Malachi Nelson, one of the other high-profile quarterbacks on the roster, has entered the transfer portal. And all the speculation was that USC was going to hit the portal yet again to find another quarterback. Will Howard was a popular speculation. But that's to say, but not so fast, because now there's a reason that he's headed to Ohio State instead of USC. After Miller Moss's performance in the Holiday Bowl versus Louisville, all that speculation is gone. Rocking that number 7, like the former school legend Matt Leinart, which, fun fact, I'm surprised isn't even retired, for one. And two, he actually used to attend all of Matt Leinart's camps as a kid, so it's only fitting. USC looks to have their quarterback one of the future. And now they can put their primary focus, which is the bigger part of this take, they can put their primary focus on actually getting players on the defensive side of the ball through the portal, because their defense the last couple years, firing Alex Grinch only does so much, but they gotta build depth on the defensive side of the ball. If they can't stop a middle school team, it's not going to matter how many points they put up on offense. Just ask Caleb Williams. Ask some of those Oklahoma teams that Lincoln Riley had. Scoring is great, it sells tickets, but defense at the end of the day is what wins championships. And that's where and now with Miller Moss's breakthrough performance, I think this gives USC the opportunity to actually do what is right for their football team. And that concludes my take, to avoid any confusion.
I'm just glad that Les talked about defense because now it's time for me to talk about defense with my number 3 thing, which was I don't know if you had a chance to watch this, but during the Valero Alamo Bowl, we had a pretty fun game between Arizona and Oklahoma. And Arizona pulled off the upset, which, we've talked about Brett Venables before, hot seat, yada, yada. But let me tell you something, Les. I have seen the future, and it is the Arizona Wildcats turnover cactus sword. Not only did they force 6 turnovers, but when they did, they put them on this giant cactus sword. And it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. They're piling the footballs like defeated enemies on the cactus sword. And everything about that just warmed my heart in ways I cannot describe. You can keep like the basketball goal that you dunked on that I think like Michigan had. That's lame. Turnover chair, turnover chain, turnover belt. Screw it. The
The
future
cactus sword.
is cactus sword. That thing is irrefutably badass. Not to mention, it also reflects the native biodiversity of Arizona. You get the Seguro cactus, and it represents destroying the heart of your enemies, which is what you should seek to do as a football team. And Arizona was a great story all year. They came from nowhere. They were a force in the Pac 12, going to the Big 12 next year. And I think that they're going to make their way into the playoff next year, partly
Ooh,
because of that turnover sword, because other teams are going to be so afraid of it. So, number 3, turnover sword.
that might be one of the hottest takes you've made on the show, buddy. And I love it. I'm never one to shy away from hot takes. I love it. And I'm really disappointed because I feel like our first 2 choices have like transitioned so well together, and this one really doesn't transition that well. But my
Okay.
number 3 is the question: is the U finally back? Look, Mario Cristobal is currently 12-13 in his 2 years as the Hurricanes head coach, and with a bowl loss to Rutgers, things may look bleak on the outside perspective. But for those who have been following, year 3 may be the year that Mario Cristobal puts it all together. After the 13th and 8th ranked recruiting classes in his first 2 cycles, the third class was able to crack the top 5. Now, with lead speculation that the top quarterback in the transfer portal, well, now Cam Ward is gone to the NFL, but that part's kind of out of it. But as we also remember, more so than anything, Cristobal's third season at Oregon is the one where he really took that next step. So, with it being his third year in Miami and an improving recruiting class every year, I think that the third year is going to be where Cristobal officially turns it around and the U will officially be back. Now, as I was trying to allude to earlier, they just got to find the right quarterback because Tyler Van Dyke is in the portal. Cam Ward is going pro. So, who's going to be the next quarterback of the Hurricanes? Let me know in the comment section below.
That is a good question. I don't even know who's left in the portal, to be honest with you anymore.
Well, hey, the Liberty quarterback's in the portal now.
Now, I thought he is. I thought he withdrew this morning.
He might have withdrew this morning. I've been kind of occupied, but I saw the last I saw is he was in the portal.
Man, that would have been a good pickup for him. But
Oh
there
yeah.
is sort of a transition here, Les, because we talked about this dude at the start of the season. He may not be back, but we said he had one of the hottest seats in the country, and
Hmm.
now his seat is covered in mayonnaise, and that's one of my favorite parts of the month of December. The Duke's Mayo Bowl, man. The mascot is a sentient tub of mayonnaise. They have mayonnaise nachos in the stands. It's glorious. And in that game, another team from the Big 12 who had a surprising season, West Virginia, comes out and dominates a depleted but still okay North Carolina squad, drops 30 on them. And we all know what happens at the end of this game. It's not probably as fun as getting covered in toast, but getting covered in mayonnaise after a huge get bowl win probably feels a little bit better than we want to admit. So I'm going to go with my number two moment being Neil Brown overcoming the hot seat and finding himself in the Duke's mayo seat. Hopefully they gave him some of those mayo nachos, or Will Levis showed him how to put it in coffee or something.
I was like, if Will Levis wasn't at the Duke's Mayo Bowl, that is just a crime against humanity. And I'm not gonna lie, Matt. You said that getting doused in mayonnaise would probably feel better than we want to admit. Well, clearly yes, because I don't want to admit that would feel good at all. I like mayonnaise. I don't really want to be covered in it. That's not really my forte, if you know what I mean.
Would you at least hug the mayonnaise mascot?
Oh yeah, I'll do that. I'm kind of a hugger type of person. I'm a lover, not a fighter.
I get that.
I'm only a fighter if Bean is in danger.
Which hopefully he's not.
He's not. No, he is actually hanging out with his mama right now. That's why no one has seen the Bean on this podcast.
Oh, Bean's leaving the show. It's over.
Oh, he's not leaving the show. Trust me. He's just like I said. He's just enjoying his quality time with his mama, aka my girlfriend. Just so nobody gets confused here.
Bean went home. Bean found his dog mom and has decided to go back with home.
Exactly. He's
He's
taking.
like,
He's
"Oh."
just taking. He's just taking. He's taking a bye week.
He took an extended holiday. He can't deal with us.
Yeah, 2 weeks is not enough for for enough of a holiday break from us for Bean.
Bean takes like those ESPN holiday breaks for like 2.5 weeks.
I swear, that's some of my favorite parts of each episode is like every time me or Matt say something and then Bean just gets up and growls. And then we get to like spin it into him just having a real problem with that take. That's the
I
best part of all of it.
He's the hottest Bean.
He is the hottest bean. That's an props because that is one bean nickname that I haven't heard yet. He's a hot bean.
He's
I've heard
he's
obviously I've heard jumping bean, baked bean, green bean, I've heard it all. If like literally I had $1 for each of Bean's nicknames, I would probably have a lot better quality on these cameras for our podcast.
I almost called him a spicy beanball. I don't know why.
You are 2 for 2 for nicknames I have not heard from Bean. So congratulations.
Oh my gosh. All right, Les, what's your number two?
My number two. Okay, you've been waiting for it. This is going to be one of the first of the two boom takes that I have today. And my number two is Dylan Raiola flipping to Nebraska from Georgia. Obviously, this is a big move. Anytime you can get a talented quarterback to commit, and in my opinion, Raiola is the best in the class. And clearly, this just shows me that he wants to go somewhere that he could start because after Carson Beck decided that he's coming back, clearly he'd have to wait to be the starter in Georgia. So he wants to go somewhere where he feels he can start right away. But the bigger question here, Matt, is like, where have I seen this before? An offensive minded coach heading into his second season just went 5-7 the previous year at a historically great program, goes out and lands a big time quarterback prospect. Does this not sound like Steve Sarkisian at Texas? And like, if history repeats itself, it's going to work out pretty good. Obviously, Texas, despite that disappointing loss to Washington in the college football playoff, still made the college football playoff, which is what I predicted at the beginning of the season, by the way. I wanted to point that out. But the thing that even goes the most underrated about a move like this, regardless of how good Dylan Raiola turns out to be, the buzz around these moves are what grab people's attention. And they can lead to even more people following him to Nebraska. You remember when Arch Manning committed to Texas and then like the next day within a 24-hour period, like 12 other recruits followed? Like whether Arch Manning pans out or not, you're not going to convince me that none of those 12 are going to pan out either. So this is absolutely game changing for Nebraska in more ways than just landing a talented quarterback. This could be the move that puts Nebraska back in the driver's seat as one of the dominant programs in college football. I'm calling it now. How's
That's
that
a
for a
bold,
bold take?
that is a bold take because there's no guarantee.
There is no guarantees.
Well, I guess without further ado, it's time for my number one pick. All right.
Dun dun dun.
Les, there are some times when a college athlete grabs the cultural zeitgeist and becomes a legend. We've seen it with Bo Jackson. We've seen it with Caitlin Clark. We've
Mm-hmm.
seen it with Michael Jordan. We've seen it happen with Christian Leitner. The list goes on of guys and girls who have just captured the imaginations of the country by doing amazing things. And on December 28th, 2023, another name was added to that list. We don't really know what his name is. We don't really know what he did, but
Well,
he
how is the name
changed.
added if we don't know who his name is?
Well, we're not sure, but it totally changed the paradigm by which we judge people's performances from here on out. How many times have you seen an athlete, a warrior, present themselves on the field of play and then at the end willingly die upon it for victory?
I feel like
That
more a warrior than an athlete, but
that is what the Pop Tarts Bowl mascot did for us all on that beautiful evening for Kansas State. He put himself in the toaster at the end of the game, sacrificed the fame, his own life to feed Kansas State after a wild 9-point victory over North Carolina State. And doing so, won the hearts and minds and conscience of the American people. Of the people of the United States are forever in debt to this wonderful Pop Tart whose strawberry flavoring turned the regular boring holiday season into a fest of memes and camaraderie that we have never seen before. And so my number one is that great hero, the Pop Tart Bowl mascot.
I have a couple things to say about that. Number one, I absolutely love the build up to that because I literally thought that I had missed something and that an athlete had sacrificed himself for the greater good of humanity. Turns out to be the Pop Tart mascot, for one. Number two, do we know it was strawberry filling or is
I,
that like up for debate?
I'm pretty sure it was strawberry. I mean, when they showed that, I actually at the end of the game switched to the live stream to watch the Kansas State players eat this giant Pop Tart. And my goodness, not only that, I mean, the Pop Tart was like, "My purpose is now." He willingly jumped in that toaster, man. There was no trepidation. He knew what he was there to do, and he did it, which led to my boldest prediction of 2024, which is that a religion will spring up around this figure, and he will be known as the Pope Tart.
The Pope. Yo, the Pope Tart. I love it. That might be the
So
greatest thing you've said on the show. And that there's a lot of competition there.
that segment was too much fun. I couldn't help myself.
Oh, I love it. That is the goaded segment. And the Pop Tart Bowl is now the goaded bowl of bowl season now, just for that reason.
Amen.
Hey, at this point, who cares about the national championship? We just got to skip to the Pop Tart Bowl.
There is another.
Bro, if Duke makes the Pop Tart Bowl next year, because I expect Texas to have a lot more aspirations next year. If Duke makes the Pop Tart Bowl, that will like make next year a success all the way together. So can we please, Manny Diaz, can we get Duke in the Pop Tart Bowl next year, please? Or if
Please, maybe.
hell, if we want to go the closet fanhood, Boise State, you want to go to the Pop Tart Bowl? That's great.
Even IU,
Get Spencer Danielson in all the action.
Coach Sig, if you're out there, make the Pop Tart Bowl, please.
Yes, that should be the aspiring aspirations for all coaches now out there is to make the Pop Tart Bowl. Oh Lord, that's going to be tough to beat. And my number one is not as awesome as Matt's, but it is another one of those boom takes that Matt was looking for. My number one is that former LSU offensive coordinator Mike Denbrock hired as the new offensive coordinator for Notre Dame. And if you follow me on any social media, you know that I had way too much fun debating this online. But this is an absolute home run hire. Obviously, the popular narrative is that Denbrock benefited from having so much talent around him at LSU, but you still can't even deny the numbers. His first year as the LSU offensive coordinator, he helped improve them from the 80th ranked offense in college football to the 24th. And then you insert year two in the Denbrock system, they improved from 24th to first. And then he also coached the Heisman Trophy winner. If that wasn't impressive enough, if you're still on the bandwagon of Mike Denbrock benefited from having great players at LSU, well, look no further than what he did at his previous job at Cincinnati. In 1 year, he helped lead them from the 111th ranked offense to 23rd. In his last 2 seasons with the Bearcats, the offense is ranked in the top 11. Plus, he's coached at Notre Dame before, so he kind of knows what to expect, I would think. But here's where the boom take comes in. Now he has Riley Leonard at quarterback, who in his last fully healthy season accounted for 33 touchdowns, comes in with the most talent he's had around him in his collegiate career. With Denbrock calling the plays, not only do I think Notre Dame will have one of, if not the best offenses in college football next year, but mark it down now, Riley Leonard is my 2024 Heisman Trophy pick right there.
Oh dear. Oh no. That may be
Mike,
too much boom. That's too
Mike,
much boom.
that's my
That
mic drop moment of the
oh
podcast.
my gosh. I don't know, that may be too much boom. We'll have to see on that one.
I mean, if you want it to be official, I'll even go on FanDuel after the show and I'll put some money on it.
Oh, don't do
I'll
that.
make it official.
Well, I mean, if you want to do that, you can, but I'm not going to make you do that. I won't hold you accountable for that.
Well, you're not going to make me. I'm going to do it.
Okay, well, that's fine as long as you insisted. You did it on your own free will, and I had nothing to do with it.
Don't worry. Like, I'm probably the most boring bettor out there. All I do is place $1 bets.
That's the easiest way to do it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the worst case, I'm out $1. Best case, I win money.
You got to do it like Mr. Krabs. No, he wouldn't even bet anything. Arr, I bet me last nickel. Arr.
He wouldn't bet anything. No, he would only bet like the guarantees. He would win like he would place like $1 bets for a chance to win like 105.
That's true. And he would be okay with that. I mean, he did sell SpongeBob Soul for 62 cents. So,
Oh yeah, for sure. So yeah, that's definitely not out of the realm of possibility.
no, it's not. You know, you know who's not a gamble though, Les?
What?
Say he's the greatest mascot who ever lived.
The Pop
Pop
Tart?
Tart Bowl mascot, yeah.
Yep, the Pop Tart.
I did
He's the
see
GOAT mascot.
I did see where he was played by a guy who ironically enough played Benny the Bull for like many years in Chicago. So he went from a bull to a goat.
I love what you did there.
He's going for he's
Your
all over
transition,
the
your
barnyard.
transitions have been on point. I love it.
He's all
Wait,
over the
hold on, hold on,
barnyard.
hold on. Pause. That reminds me. Aren't you supposed to do a segment of your top 5 mascots of all time?
Yes,
Or at
we'll
least
get
that's what
there
you told
someday.
me.
We've got to save
Someday?
that. We got to save that for a very special show or something.
Do you want me to? Because I feel like you're gonna blow me out of the water. Your mascots are gonna be
No,
so much cooler than mine.
you don't have to. You can just stand there and shake your head and wonder how I got this way, and I'll just be like, "You knew that."
You already know where mine are gonna be. I'm gonna go with Bevo or the Blue
Blue
Devil.
Devils.
It's gonna be pretty basic, or the Boise State Bronco, and I might just add a little razzle dazzle. I might throw in the WKU Hilltopper.
Hey, who doesn't love Big Red?
That's true. He literally eats people, and it's quite
He
entertaining.
does. You know who? You know who would probably? Oh, that would be great. Western Kentucky. They should make the Pop Tarts Bowl. Imagine Big Red eating that Pop Tart.
Yes, let's make it happen. Big Red, you got to eat the Pop Tart next year.
We have to make Big Red eat that Pop Tart. So no, I don't think our mascot list would interact that much. I didn't hear anything about the Delta State Fighting Okra on there.
I've never even heard of Delta State. I'm not even gonna lie.
Man,
Well,
shout out to the
that's why you're the mid major guy and I'm the big school guy.
shout out to the lovely people of Cleveland, Mississippi. I walked on their campus just by accident because I was down there on vacation. I met the guy who ran their radio station. His name was Ethan. He was great. But I really loved the Fighting Okra. I have a Fighting Okra t-shirt and a Fighting Okra stuffed animal. Well, it's not really a stuffed animal. It's kind of like a figurine, but the, they technically go by the Statesman now, but come on.
Mhm.
Fighting Okra, it's an
That's
okra
pretty
with
badass.
boxing gloves. That's
That is
amazing.
pretty badass. Well, Matt,
It
we
is
got about 7 minutes left, and there's a couple other things that have gone on that are pretty big deals that I think we should probably at least react to. So it's
okay.
three things. Try to give as quick a reaction as you can. Obviously, they weren't part of our top five, so just go off the top of the dome with this one. But number one thing that we haven't talked about: DJ Uyangale commits to Florida State from the portal. What were your thoughts on that?
I mean, it made sense. It's the like we've talked about now with the oh my gosh. Hold on a second, Les. Well, we talked about with the what we talked about with the ACC now. As you can see here is the Delta State T-shirt.
Oh, he had somebody off camera just like give him the Delta State Okra T-shirt. That is awesome.
We are a high value production here, Les.
We
Look at
are
that. Isn't that
that.
amazing?
The Spotify listeners are going to be so jealous right now. They're going to have to
They,
flip to the YouTube channel.
they are. But it's like we talked about earlier, Les. The ACC has kind of become a place now where it seems like you can revitalize your career. There aren't going to be it's one of those places where you have the ability to make the playoff with a good season. But if you don't, and you have a good season, you could end up like Drake May and be the second overall pick potentially. So that's why I think for DJ Uyungale, I think that's the best place for him to end up. It's a competitive conference, but one where like if you're not sure of your confidence, you only have a few games a year that are really going to shake it up a little bit. And Florida State is the flagship of that conference for now. So it's a good way to be at a marquee program without some of the pressures that would come if you had gone to a Washington or a USC or an Ohio State.
I think that's fair. Moving on to number two, we talked about him earlier on the show, but Quinshawn Judkins has officially entered the portal. But the lead rumor is that he is going to go to Ohio State. Matt, what are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts on that is that's going to cause a ripple effect because those Ohio State quarter running backs like Travion, they're not going to want to, or they aren't going to want to stick around. I don't remember if Travion Henderson's sticking around another year or there's another guy with a similar
It's up in
name.
the air right now. It's
It's
up
up
in
in
the
the
air
air.
right now.
Well, if Quinshawn Junkins comes in, that's going to push him out, I would assume, because as we always like to say, the old adage is there's one football. There's one football. And the ability it may be enticing to play with Will Howard, but his and McCord's stats are a lot more similar in some ways than people want to admit. I still think Will Howard's an upgrade, but I think Quinshawn Judkins coming in changes the trajectory of Ohio State's season. In fact, now their running game's even better, and it'll be interesting then to see if he sticks around where Travion ends up going because I can't imagine you want to split the carries like that with a guy like Quinshawn Judkins.
Well, I want to start by saying Will Howard didn't have Marvin Harrison Jr., Emeka Buka, Cade Stover, Travion Henderson, Dallas Hayden, Mayan Williams to like hand the ball to. So that's why I don't really think it's fair to like compare numbers there. But
He's
like,
definitely a
what
better
this if he
rusher.
does end up going to Ohio State, like, bro, Ohio State's gonna be scary next year.
Yeah,
Their
that's
defense was for the first time really of the Ryan Day era. The defense was the staple of that team, and
mhm.
now like their offense is going to be back on track. Will Howard coming in at quarterback, Quinshawn Judkins, obviously one of the best running backs and the best running back in the transfer portal. They're still going to be loaded at wide receiver. Abuka more than likely will still be there. Carnell Tate will still be there. They just reload every year at that position. And then they just added a center from Alabama. What's up, Matt?
Well, I'd also like to say too, and imagine here's my boom take for the show. That's actually somewhat
Ooh,
serious. They're not gonna have to play Jim Harbaugh anymore. I don't think
that's not a boom take. I think that's a very popular narrative, actually.
he's gonna be in either L.A. or Las Vegas or
Mm-hmm.
something next year. So if Ohio State really wants to pounce, I think this is their golden opportunity. Because if Michigan wins Monday night, I think Harbaugh will be like la di da di da. Oh no, cheating scandal. I'm going to the NFL. La la la. Something
But
like
yeah,
that.
right.
So yeah, you're
But
totally
watch
right
out.
there. And
But
they did
watch
get
out for
that.
Ohio State.
Yeah, they're going to be really freaking good next year.
And then number three, and we got about 3 minutes left, so we can just make this really quick. LSU hires former Missouri defensive coordinator Blake Baker to the same position. Thoughts on that, if any at all?
God, they need it. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
for about 3.5 quarters the other day, they were getting absolutely gashed by Wisconsin. Wisconsin, who is maybe offensively a step up from our beloved, do it with me, 1, 2, 3, Iowa.
Iowa.
Our beloved Iowa Hawkeyes. My God, I mean, Tanner Mordecai looked like Peyton Manning out there for like
Tanner
three and a half.
Mordecai looked like how I predicted him in the preseason to look.
That's true. Paul Christ almost broke through. Not Paul
Paul Christ
Christ.
is on Texas's staff, my boy.
Fickle. Oh man, I'm off today. Either way, yes, they need to change of pace because there's one thing that's been weirder for me to watch is how LSU when I was a kid was predicated on defense, like Glenn Dorsey and guys like that, and now
Ooh,
it's like
Elliott's
all
the
you think
man
about
right
is like
there.
you think about explosive offenses and like, well, surely they've got the defense to go with it, right? And then you look at it and it's like, oh no. So any Missouri has been an up and coming program. I think they're actually going to be in the playoff conversation next year too.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime you can snipe a guy from an up and coming coaching staff, that usually only benefits you. So LSU absolutely needed to make that move, and I think it's a good one because not only do you get a guy who understands the SEC, you've got a younger guy, and you just needed anybody you could get your hands on
Yeah,
to
you need
make that
anybody who
defense
can
play
teach
like a
defense at
cohesive
all.
unit. Yeah,
Maybe get LSU back to that defense that we know and love, our typical LSU Tigers to have. Which if you can,
until Brian.
if uh, which if LSU can keep the same offense, which I think they will take a little bit of a hit, losing Jaden Daniels, losing Malik Neighbors, losing Thomas, and then losing Den Brock at offensive coordinator. If they can even replicate any of that offense at all from this year's team, which I know that their quarterbacks coach is a very popular name, is that they have full faith in. If they can replicate any of that offense and still have that defense, they're going to be just fine.
Yeah,
That is
it's a wrap.
officially all the time we have for today. So as always, like and subscribe to Less is More Sports YouTube and Spotify channel. Follow our social media pages at Less is More Sports on Facebook, Twitter, and Threads. And without further ado, first episode of 2024. I love it.
We love you, Pop Tarts.
We love you, Pop Tarts. I'm more of a cookie dough Pop Tart myself, but we'll settle for strawberry.
Brown sugar and cinnamon, but all Pop Tarts are good.
You like brown cinnamon?
Yes, I love brown sugar cinnamon.
I'm ending the show on that note.
Yeah, this is the last episode. Goodbye, everybody.